The Cardano blockchain has been absolutely battered by an influx of transactions. People are using it so much that it's really difficult to get your transactions through. This is great news and obviously frustrating news as well. But in this video, I want to go over the SundaeSwap DEX launch, some advice around it if you want to navigate that launch, and also try and trade some tokens on there, just specific advice for that. Also, I'm going to look at Cardano's scaling solutions, and they're really trying to scale up the blockchain immediately and through the rest of this year. It's all looking really good fundamentally for Cardano. There's a lot of interest in using the chain, which is obviously good. And there's a lot of really great fundamental upgrades coming over the next 6 months that are really going to scale the blockchain up, add DeFi. So all good news. Obviously, we're in a very kind of uncertain period right now. So firstly, coming to the price, you can see Cardano's up a little bit over the last hour or so, and it looks like crypto is going to open up. I'm actually filming this in the morning in Dubai, so this is kind of Sunday evening US time, but by the time you watch this, it will be kind of morning US time for the market opening. It looks like the futures are pointing up, but what we're seeing now is that in the morning, the futures point up, and then midway through the day, the institutions come in and start selling. So the big rotation right now, we won't get into the macro factors of it, but essentially, you know, prices are under pressure. And really for me, this year is all about investing in real good fundamental blockchains with good technology that are going to grow despite the market conditions. That's how I invest overall. So getting quickly into Cardano, a really bit of good news is that they actually passed $1.5 billion more in transactions than ETH. So let me explain this. Essentially, because of the SundaeSwap DEX launch last week, we'll look at this. They actually did around about $7 billion in transaction volume, which is obviously crazy for Cardano, which is really just kind of launching its first applications. It's actually, you know, more than Ethereum. So if we look, we can see Cardano and Ethereum right here. They actually did more volume than the whole of Ethereum, which is crazy. Obviously, this is just one day, so this is going to settle down, and obviously Ethereum in general does much more. But what you can see is the fees as well, which is actually quite important. So Cardano, just the way it works, it's just much lower cost than Ethereum. So that is obviously one of the benefits of Cardano, is that if you do want to trade or invest, it's going to be a lot cheaper overall. And obviously the way that Cardano works with the way that they use UTXO, it's just a very different system overall. And so fees aren't really going to jump up like on Ethereum, but the downside for now anyway is that you don't get the scale, and so you have these transactions failing or just not going through. One of the benefits actually of UTXO that Cardano uses, so Cardano uses something called UTXO, which is a system of transactions that Bitcoin uses, is essentially that if you put a transaction into the SundaeSwap DEX, and we'll look at that in a second, and it doesn't go through for some reason, you can actually cancel your order, and then you don't pay anything. You don't pay any fees. Now, on something like Ethereum with the account-based model, what happens is you can go through with a transaction, and if you don't pay enough gas, you actually still pay the gas that you said you would pay, a lot of it, and not get the transaction done. So it's a little bit of a downside for Ethereum. That's going to work out in the years. But yeah, it's just something interesting that EUTXO that Cardano uses. You know, basically you can, if something doesn't go through, just cancel it and then don't pay anything. So I'll go through that in the SundaeSwap DEX later as well. But yeah, there's obviously good news there for Cardano. So what I want to go through is the SundaeSwap DEX launch. Now what you can see here is that I put like a sample order in to the SundaeSwap DEX a while back, actually when it first launched. It hasn't gone through. So if this has happened to you, I just want to go through this quickly. Essentially what you can see is that I went to swap some ADA, and this is just a test, right? So it wasn't a lot, but I wanted to swap some ADA into some Sundae tokens. You can see one Sundae at the time when I put the order in would cost 0.315 ADA. The current price though is 0.937 ADA. So what you can see has happened is essentially is that I put a price in, said I want to spend 0.3 ADA, and the current price is 0.9. Obviously my bid is far too cheap, and so it won't go through. You can actually see it says here now the scoop status price over limit. So that's why my order is not going through. I'm just nowhere near the price. So this went in a long time ago, and what I'm going to have to do is just cancel this order because it's just not going to go through, right? The price has moved away from me. So one thing you can do here is when you come to swap is actually, you know, let's put some ADA in here. and we want to swap that for Sundae tokens. Should come up here, and then you can come to the settings right here and actually change your slippage tolerance. So slippage tolerance is the ability of the order to essentially move away from the price that you agreed at when you press the swap button, and at the price when the actual transaction goes through. So there's a huge backlog, right? So the price may fluctuate. So if you really want your transaction to go through, increase your slippage. You can actually increase it by these buttons, but you can put an amount on here, 100 or 99, right? Whatever it is, you can set that slippage. My slippage was very small. I just did it kind of just to put a transaction in, and it didn't go through. So that's, if you really want your transaction to go through, you'll have to set a much higher slippage. But we can see, this isn't a working DEX, right? It says processing orders from 2 days ago. I mean, you can't rely on this as a DEX in any real way at the moment. But Cardano are doing some things to actually grow the network. So I'll get onto that now. Before I talk about scaling, actually, I want to talk about the SundaeSwap scoopers. So if you want to get some Sundae tokens in the ISPO, you still have an opportunity to do that. I think there's going to be 4 epics that are actually going through that you can delegate some ADA and then get some Sundae tokens back. I'm doing it because I want to get those tokens. And I'm happy to give up my ADA rewards for a month or so. And obviously there's been a lot of people that want to do this as well. So what's happened is that essentially a lot of the stake pools that SundaeSwap were using are full up. So they've had to add more. So they've actually done that now. So you can go to iso.sundaeswap.finance or go to their Twitter and then click this link. You need to go to the right one because there's just so many scams out there. It will take you to this part of the site. So what you can see now is that these are certified ISO pools, or initial stake pool offering pools. And then you can click on each one and go through and find some more information about that. So what you're going to need to do if you want to take part in the ISPO is find a pool that isn't saturated. The way that Cardano works is that if a pool gets too many delegations, it will become saturated and start losing rewards. This is to increase decentralization. We want the most rewards. So what you can do is come to adapools.org and then basically search for these stake pools and see if they've still got some room in that you can delegate to. So let's do this one, which is Frog. So you can come up to search. We'll just search for Frog and see if it's there. So this one, again, it says it's saturated, right? 95% saturation. So actually, you've still got a few percent there that you can delegate to. You can also come up and see this Sundae ISO pool. It needs to have this icon just to be sure. Now what you can do, I'm not going to show you here. I've got other videos on this, but what you'll need to do is go into your ADA wallet. So if you have a Yoroi wallet or, there's a few other wallets out there that you might use, be sure to search for this stake pool to delegate your ADA coins to. And then you will be in the stake pool offering. So that is basically today for the next few days. This is when the first stake pool launches, and it will be going on for about four or 5 weeks, I believe. So that is how you would get into the stake pool offering and actually get some Sundae tokens in the stake pool offering. So anyone that's tried to swap on SundaeSwap, you'll know that Cardano is kind of a congested mess right now. Here's what Cardano is doing to try and scale the network over the next 6 months. And it is going to be a long road, but really all roads lead to essentially very, very cheap transactions and basically unlimited transactions when we get to ZK rollups and off-chain. But in the near term, this is what IOHK are doing. So obviously they've seen that this is a problem and that the blockchain is congested. They actually moved forward the date that they're going to increase the parameters on the blockchain. So you can see they've commenced the update proposal to increase Plutus script memory units per transaction by 1.25 million. This will be going through by the 25th of January, right? So, pretty soon. This will increase parameters, more transactions can go through. It's not like a huge thing, but it's definitely going to help. So really important kind of for the next 6 months as well is all the bigger increases that you're seeing here. This is on the IOHK blog, how we're scaling Cardano. Block size increase is very important. Something called pipelining and input endorsers is very important as well, but really much bigger as well. And really important for DeFi on Cardano is what's called the Plutus script enhancements. And these are improvement proposals, or SIPs, Cardano improvement proposals, 31, 32, and 33. These are really important for DeFi, including lending on Cardano. So I don't expect DeFi or lending to come on to Cardano in any real way until probably the second half of this year. And the reason for that is because when you have DeFi and lending, you need to be able to liquidate positions pretty much instantly. You cannot wait around for 1 or 2 days to liquidate a position, because the whole inherent point of a liquidation is that it happens very quick and there's very fast confirmation. And that can't happen until you can be sure that you can transact very fast. So these proposals that are being worked on by some DeFi partners on Cardano should be coming kind of over the next few months. So this is why it's important to have liquidation and you need fast transactions. So what happens in DeFi is that you borrow money against your collateral, and there's many reasons to do this, right? So let's say you have ADA, and let's say you have $10,000 worth. Okay, so that's this line. What will happen is that you can put that ADA onto a DeFi application and collateralize it. And that means you get US dollars. So you wouldn't get US dollars, but you'd get a stable coin. So that could be any stable coin, right? So we'll just have that as USD, but it will be a stable coin version of USD. And they'll lend you an amount, never the full amount, but they'll lend you, say, 60%, right? So they'll lend you $6,000. And that's here. And what they say is, we'll lend you this, but we need to keep this buffer. There needs to be a buffer between the collateral that you own and the money that we lent you. Now, if the price of ADA, let's say the price of ADA is $1 here, all right, but the price of ADA falls to kind of 90 cents, something like this, that means the collateral is now no longer worth 10,000. And so this buffer right here is obviously getting eaten into. So when that comes down to a low enough level, the system has to be able to say, look, we're going to sell some of your ADA in order to increase this buffer zone again, right? So what we're going to do is sell some ADA. So now you may only have, let's say, $8,000 of ADA. But, and obviously the USD loan, that actually gets paid off. So that might come down to, let's say 4,000 or something. I'm not going to do the maths now. But then what you'll see is that buffer obviously remains. You need that buffer. The only way that a DeFi application can do this with 100% certainty is by being able to see the price, see the buffer, and instantly liquidate someone when that gets hit. If you have to wait 2 days for that to happen, that can't happen. And so DeFi is not going to be coming to ADA in any real way until these proposals and everything goes through. They're being worked on right now, so that's great news. Should be coming this year, and then we can really get started with DeFi and lending on Cardano. So yeah, the fundamentals look really good for Cardano in terms of how they're upgrading the network. The community is strong. More people are being drawn into the community, mainly because the fees are low and predictable, which is something that people crave, and something that's going to obviously change a lot in all of these ecosystems. What I would say these days, during this market in the first half of 2022, it's a difficult market. And I think there's a lot of FUD. A lot of people are very, very bearish. That's fine if they want to be that. Prices may not go to the moon this period, this half. That's something that I can't control, but as a long-term investor, you need to really focus on fundamentals and really the outlook of blockchains, right? So, that's why I'm going to keep investing into Cardano, because I think they solve a lot of problems, and they're a low-cost blockchain that people are going to want to use. In addition to other blockchains, Ethereum and Bitcoin, there's a lot of opportunities for me. I know a lot of people get very scared when the price comes down, and I get it, but this is crypto, and crypto does fall 50, 60% quite regularly, and so you have to be prepared for that and invest over the long term. If you want to know more about how I invest, do check out the link in the description for my crypto investor course. Over 150 videos now, and you can see how I invest and how I strategize and put a very long-term strategy in place and really just invest over the long term. These short-term price movements really don't bother me, because investing in fundamentals usually wins over the long term. If you want to see my trades and my portfolio regularly, it's all updated in the course as well, and we have private member Discord groups as well if you want to check that out. Link in the description. I'm James with MoneyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.